Alright, I'm going to try and give y'all some pointers on how I am turning wood. When I originally started in this stuff, I didn't have anybody to show me. I bought a little $35 lathe. Actually, it wasn't little, it's a 4-foot bed, but wasn't adjustable, variable speed, any of that stuff. And bought some junky tools and learned the hard way. Well, I didn't learn the hard way, I did it the hard way. So I was, getting a lot of ingrain tear out and stuff, and I was fortunate enough to run into a gentleman by the name of Mark Saleh. Mark is a professional wood turner and teaches classes all around the country and stuff, and he just happened to have a shop right there where I worked at, so I'd go visit with him, hang out, and try to soak up as much as I could from him. And he didn't know anything about turkey calls, but the man is a genius when it comes to this. So anyhow, I was telling him, my biggest time consumer when I was making calls was sanding. He said, well, you're not holding your tools right. And I said, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I didn't realize that hadn't opened all the way. He said, well, come in here one day and I'll show you some things. So it didn't take long. He chunked up a piece of wood for me one day in the lathe, and he said, all right, now you show me how you're doing it. So I grabbed the tool, and you can see this is a 3/4 gouge, and I'm holding it right here. He said, well, that's where you're messing up to begin with. And I said, well, why is that? He said, well, what you're doing here is you're tearing. You're not actually cutting wood. If you learn to orient your tool right, you'll be way ahead of the game. He said another thing is, he said, well, these factory beveled edges on these tools, they're not optimum. So he showed me, and let's see if that'll show up real well or not, but if you'll see, that is definitely not factory. I'm going to about 60 degrees on my tools when I grind them, and if I had a better setup, I'd sharpen a whole lot better and they'd last a lot longer. But I've got a little bench top grinder, and I just try to keep the same bevel going. The other thing I do that he showed me as well is, once I grind on the grinder, there's going to be not even pointing in the right direction, but you're going to get a lot of buildup right in here, and it's kind of like sharpening a knife, same process. So you'll get the burred edge. That's going to negate a lot of the slicing as well. So he gave me this, which is just a file, and then I'll run it through here every time I sharpen it, just to knock that burr off. Now, so what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to show you the differences in how I am holding the tools. So I'll start with just like, how I taught myself, which is, running here. Now it's taking wood away. That's not a problem. And if you don't mind sanding, you can see just how rough that is. Well, I don't know if you can or not. Give me a second. Let me remove this camera, and then we'll see. Now, pretty sure y'all should be able to see that. It's, in order to get it glass smooth, which is what I'm aiming for, that's going to require a lot of sanding. You can see some of the tear out as we went along. So now, let me get this back on the tripod here. Why is it childproof? There it goes. Alright, let me zoom back in, and now you should be able to see it real well right there. So now let me show you what he showed me. So, you know, again, with this bevel here, you want it to slice. So I am taking my tool at an angle right here, and then letting the tool do all the work. Now, see if you can see the difference here. I mean, my fingernail's not digging into anything where it is here. So, learn to orient your tools correctly. And I am basically pushing it at an angle here. And we're going to do this again real quick. Alright, whoops. Shut up. Alright. So for an exaggeration, golly, this sucks. Alright. Here is where you're going to see where I'm getting that angle. And I'm just pushing the tool along this way, and it's slicing the wood. See how much smoother that is? Now, I still sand, but not near as much. I can be done sanding. Well, let me turn this piece, and I will show you exactly how long it takes me to sand. And I go 150, 220 to 500. And then I'll show you another little trade trick that I do to get the best finish on this. And we'll go from there. So give me a few minutes, let me turn this, and we'll go from there. Alright, so now I'm going to sand this now that I got it done. So when I am turning and actually, you know, removing wood from my projects, I'm going to run my RPMs all the way up to 1900. When it comes time to sand, I'm actually going to reduce it to about 1500, 14 to 1500. And then I've got 1-inch strips. So this is 150 grit sandpaper. And it won't take long. And all I'm trying to do here is remove any high spots in the wood and any tool marks that I might have made, especially when I'm doing my coves like this. And then we'll go to 220 grit. See if I can find it. Same thing. And then 500. And then I'm going to speed my lathe all the way up to 1900. And I'm going to use the back side. So here's my 500 grit. I'm going to flip it over. Just run it along the wood real quick. And basically it just burnishes it down even smoother. Alright, I did not time that, but I'm going to guess I had maybe a minute and a half of sanding, and now it's ready for a finish. This is a piece of Bolivian rosewood, and I'll show y'all in just a second how I am going to put my finish on. So stand by. Well, I can probably do this while it's still going. So I take my handy dandy scribing pen, and on every call I make I put the same Bible verse on there, Romans 10:13. So I was saved on Friday, July the 13th, 1984, and the preacher read this scripture to me, when I accepted Jesus as my Savior. And Romans 10:13 is, for whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. So I'm going to put that on my calls because I am not much of a preacher. But anything that I can do to help somebody else find the Lord and make this world a better place, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So, Romans 10:13. Charlie, get off me. Move. Get. Alright, so, now for the finish. Seriously, trouble you two. I've got 3 labs and all 3 of them want to sit on me while I'm doing this. Let's see if I can get this situated right. Alright, so I'm going to put my finish on. Let's go ahead and show you what the call looks like first. Alright. Now, the finish is what really does the ticket on this, especially on woods like this. So let me get this back in the tripod. I take just your basic, generic paper towel. Now, I will show you. So here we have just your basic paper towel. I'm going to roll it up like this, and then I'm going to separate it into 3 pieces. Once I do that, I'm going to take it and roll it up semi-tight, so maybe about into 3/8. I'm going to roll it. For you people that have experience with rolling other papers, I don't. You'll get it a whole lot quicker. Then I'm going to take, this is a medium viscosity CA glue. I'm going to take the lathe and I'm going to turn it down to 900 RPMs. And then I'm going to take my glue and start applying it on the paper towel and letting it run all the way up the caul. And I am steadily squeezing the glue out. And that will be application number 1. I am going to do this 3 times. Now this glue will dry relatively quickly, but with the humidity and the temperatures, it may take a minute. So I already done a couple today, so I already know what it's going to do. So I'm going to add another bead of the glue. Level it out as we go. Alright. Now I'm going to take an activator. Like so. Get it all around it. Drop it back down to 900 and apply one more coat of glue. Alright. Now what I want to do take 400 grit sandpaper, knock the dust off of it, and I am going to start sanding now. If you, I don't know if it's picking it up or not. I may need to zoom in here for a second. You're going to see ridges in the stand by. Too much glare from the light. Alright, but you can see the ridges. I want to sand until all those ridges are gone. And it shows up even better once I knock the dust off of it. So give me a second, I'll get this back on and turn it back on in a second. Alright, so I've got all the ridges out. My next step is can you read it? 800 grit. So I'm going to go up to 800 grit paper next. And all of this is stuff that Mark showed me as well. This isn't anything proprietary or anything like that. But I do know, a lot of tile makers use different things for their finishes. I'm not knocking any of them. The reason I use super glue, basically it's cyan or acrylate, but it's super glue. The reason I use it is it's 100% waterproof and extremely scratch resistant. So it's going to protect the finish on the caul and protect the caul itself for a very, very long time to come. Alright, so my last step, Triple E Ultra Shine now. This is about dried out. I need to buy another jar of it. But I'm going to take another paper towel, get some on the paper towel, and then this is going to buff out any fine sanding marks that may still be in the finish. I'm applying pressure with my finger, and I'm running it up the caul, and it's a very fine grit, kind of like toothpaste. It's just to remove the very fine marks from that 800 grit sandpaper. A lot of people may not go to this extent, but the way I look at it is you're spending a lot of money with me. I want you to be happy with what you get. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do is just take a clean paper towel, cleanish, and I'm going to take all this wax off now. And you can see the finish popping through now. Out of the grooves. And we are done. Now, give you a close-up of what it turned out like. Now you can see how the glue, the finish just brought that out. I need to not finish rubbing that all out real quick, but look at the finish on there. And that finish is going to remain for a very, very long time to come. The only thing that'll truly mess it up is if you, I don't know, hit it with a hammer, run over it with a car, shoot it, or pour gasoline on it. That might mess it up. But, like I said, I'm digging with all I got. I ain't got much for fingernails, but nothing. And I do that inside the caul, outside, my mouthpiece, my friction cauls, I do it inside and out. My duct cauls, everything. I love super glue. Well, hope that helps y'all out. Wasn't much to it. So learn how to orient your tools, keep them sharp, change the bevel on them a little bit, slice instead of tear, and then put your finish on. Hope it helped. One other thing that is extremely vital in what I do, you gotta have good company. You in that right trouble, huh? Yeah, that's my boy. He is 3 years old. He's a freaking horse. Matter of fact, sit. I want to show y'all something. Come here, let me see this paw. Is that a paw or a freaking hoof? 103 pounds of worthless. But he keeps me company. The other two are outside chasing each other, so this is where he has to get right in between me and whatever I'm doing. Love that dog.